Coming to paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this all-new Spinsterella story. Pre-order your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. Two people were killed and 6 were injured in a mass shooting that took place on the campus of Florida State University. Now, in this alleged incident that took place on the campus of Florida State University, 20-year-old Phoenix Inkner, the son of a Leon County Sheriff's deputy, allegedly took his mother's service weapon to the campus and stood outside the student union where he began to fire on his fellow classmates. And as he fired this weapon into the campus, he wound up taking the lives of 2 people and wounding 6 others before Leon County Sheriff's Police came down to the campus and wound up taking down Phoenix Inkner by shooting and wounding him. And after he was shot and wounded, he was taken into custody where he currently is right now. Now, the police in Tallahassee see the alleged behavior of Phoenix Inkner as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of Phoenix Inkner's alleged behavior, it's definitely fitting the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And it's clear to me that Phoenix Inkner was a man in crisis ever before he set on the campus of Florida State University. Phoenix Inkner definitely was a man in crisis based on what I read as related to his background, due to him possibly either being adopted or possibly being the child of a surrogate situation. Because Phoenix Inkner's mother, who was a part of the Leon County Sheriff's Department, is not his real biological mother. He's possibly either an adopted child or a surrogate child, and that definitely, to me, is what led to the foundation of him being a man in crisis. Because according to some reports, they're saying that his biological mother wanted to take him away when he was 10 years old and wanted to go to Europe. However, his biological mother got stopped by his mother, and he wound up being back in the custody of his mother, and that possibly was what led to Phoenix Inkner simmering and boiling in anger and entering a place I call the secret world. Now, when it comes to beta males, many beta males live a double life, and as they're living a double life, they look like clean-cut kids in the regular world that's really smooth. But in the real world, these young boys are simmering and boiling in anger, and they take that anger with them to the secret world where they feel like they can express their natural masculinity and in some cases their natural sexuality. And I believe what happened here with Phoenix Inkner is that Phoenix Inkner basically was seething with anger over finding out his actual lineage as related to his parentage. And as he was seething with anger as related to his parentage, this is what led to Phoenix Inkner entering into the secret world and the rose-colored reality that it is in an effort to look for answers. And as he began to look for answers as related to his problem as a teenage boy, he basically started heading down that rabbit hole of white supremacy. And as he headed down that rabbit hole of white supremacy on these racist websites and these far-right websites, he basically started imbibing this misinformation, hoping to make black people and other people into scapegoats for the situation that was created by his biological mother as related to his possible adoption or his possible being a surrogate situation. And this is what led to him simmering and boiling in anger, and simmering and boiling in anger using white supremacy as a way to again be able to create the scapegoat for the state of his life the state of his life that he was deeply angry about. And as he was deeply angry about the state of his life, he then decided to go to Florida State University and go to Tallahassee College, and was also out here being a part of the Leon County Sheriff's Department as related to programs as related to the department, because I believe he wanted to become a police officer. I believe he wanted to be, that's why he was on the Sheriff's Office Youth Advisory Council. He wanted to take his power as a man and by being a possible police officer. But what was happening with this guy, Phoenix Inkner, was he was basically on the road to becoming a race soldier. He was on the road, I believe, to becoming one of these race soldiers that Tariq Nasheed talks about. And as he was on this road to becoming one of these race soldiers, he basically wound up, like many beta males, getting in his own way because he got caught up in his feelings, because as he was in these online echo chambers listening to all of this white supremacist rhetoric, he decided when he was on campus, he had to go out here and deal with life in the real world. And as he was dealing with life in the real world, it was basically conflicting with the rose-colored reality he was living in as related to white supremacy and all the rhetoric he was listening to in those echo chambers. As he was listening to all that rhetoric in those echo chambers and hearing only things about white supremacy, he wound up going to the Florida State University campus, and he was a part of the student union. And as he was a part of the student union, he began making these white supremacist statements. And again, as he made these white supremacist, alt-right, anti-black, and racist rhetoric on campus, this is where this leadership at Tallahassee State College basically said they had to kick him out of their group, because his white supremacist views basically were not ones that they wanted to hear on campus. And hearing someone actually disagree with him, I believe that this was the thing that triggered the explosion of rage. The explosion of rage was him having to deal with the actual real world, and he couldn't live in that rose-colored reality anymore. And since Phoenix Inkner couldn't live in that rose-colored reality anymore, this is what led to him becoming so angry that he decided to come to campus. He decided to come to campus and again deal with the people who disagreed with him, not by presenting a counter argument, but by presenting a firearm allegedly to look to take the lives of those individuals who disagreed with him. That's what I believe happened on the campus here with Phoenix Inkner. He basically couldn't deal with life in the real world that men and women have to deal with, and that's where this boy who was on the road to college started on the road to becoming a man in crisis. And because he couldn't deal with the conflict of people disagreeing with him on this campus and ejecting him because he had these extremist views, he wanted to be able to go again and retaliate against these individuals by taking the firearm from his mother. This is where Phoenix Inkner decided to go back to the student union, I believe, in an effort to go out here and get revenge on the people who disagreed with him. And as he did this, he wound up killing 2 people who were not even students on the campus. And I don't even think he even hit any of the students on the campus we had the disagreement with. No, he was just, again, violently acting impulsively based on the misinformation he's seen online as related to other mass shooters. Because when it comes to a lot of these mass shooters, they sit there and they read about the other incidents of these individuals participating in their murder sprees, and they want to go out here and participate in this behavior in an effort to go down in infamy because they can't deal with the realities of life. They can't deal with a world where you're going to deal with people who disagree with you and present different opinions. I mean, that's what college is all about. College is a place where you're going to be dealing with a lot of people who you disagree with. You're dealing with different opinions and different ideas. Unfortunately, what happens with many beta males is that they're so inside their own head, especially when they get into an echo chamber. Whenever they get into an echo chamber, they can't deal with the reality of life. And as they can't deal with the reality of a world where people disagree with you and can present points and counterpoints, that's where these individuals believe that they have the justification to participate in violence to silence those individuals. And that's what Phoenix Inkner was looking to do, looking to go out here and silence those who had a differing opinion than him. And that really showed how he was not ready for life in the real world. No, when it came down to Phoenix Inkner, he wasn't ready for life in the real world. No, this boy basically wasn't ready to be a man, because a man can agree to disagree, but a white supremacist cannot agree to disagree, because a white supremacist wants to live in a smooth world where everything they say is right and everyone has to agree with them. But that's not how the real world works, and that's what Phoenix Inkner didn't understand, and that's why he had a handgun from his mother's police weapons and a shotgun from her weapons to look out here and again participate in this crime. Now, some want to say that this is a gun issue. No, this is not a gun issue at all. No, I have been making videos about this man crisis for over almost a decade, and it's a family issue, and the foundations for this whole situation with Phoenix Inkner start with his family as related to his dysfunction. Again, this boy basically was in a very traumatic situation as related to his parents, and because he didn't have, again, a man to give him male life skills or male survival skills, or even a counselor to sit down and talk to him. What happened with this boy is that instead of him getting counseling from a licensed psychotherapist or a counselor to deal with his problems, he went on the internet, and as he went on the internet, he then headed down the same rabbit hole that many children have been going down ever since the pandemic. Now, Phoenix Inkner's behavior is fitting a pattern I have been seeing as related to kids in this whole COVID pandemic. Many of these kids took a trip down the rabbit hole of hate as we were locked down during COVID, because Phoenix Inkner was 20 years old right now, and that meant that he was about maybe 14, 15, 16 back in 2019, 2020. And when we had the lockdowns, this teenager basically was looking down that rabbit hole for somebody to blame. And again, when it comes to these white supremacist websites, they always give you somebody to blame for all your problems. They always say it's black people, it's Hispanic people, it's Asian people, it's Mexicans. Again, it gives you a whole bunch of people to blame for the problems in your life, so that you don't have to take a look at yourself or take a look at your family and not be able to take a look at those people and see how they made a mess of your life. Again, that's what Phoenix Inkner didn't want to do in his life situation. He didn't want to go out here and hold his mothers accountable for their part in the situation, which is classic gynocentrism, and again, as related to males. And this male basically, again, wanted to go out here and again look to take out his anger on the world, take his anger out on the world of black people, Spanish, Latinos, Asians, any Arabs, anybody who, again, he felt was told to be a scapegoat. And that's what's happened to many kids, sadly, in this whole situation. Many of our kids took a trip down that rabbit hole of misinformation that's online, took a trip down that rabbit hole of hatred, and that whole rabbit hole of hatred and white supremacy basically consumed Phoenix Inkner with hatred that turned him from being a boy with a road to college to winding up a man in crisis who, after he's basically, again, healed in the hospital, is now going to go from having the intangibles of manhood, like his dignity, his self-respect, and his freedom, he's going to go down the same road of the character of that was in the movie American History X, and he's going to go from being able to be free on campus to disagree with people as related to his classmates, to now having to deal with the authority of the COs, who will be completely apathetic as he runs into the social pecking order of the penitentiary of individuals like Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, and he will find himself in a situation similar to Edward Norton's character in American History X in the shower scene. If you've seen that movie where the white supremacists there show him what's going on in there, and I won't talk too much about that, but he'll run into a situation where he's going to have to deal with a similar type of outcome from Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles, as they basically wind up exchanging his front side and backside for commissary as they trade him for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, packets of Keef coffee, packets of Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand lemon lime drink, off-brand grape drink, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand cherry drink, off-brand peach drink, off-brand apple juice, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand lemon cookies, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, Hunt snackback puddings, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies, Velveeta cheese, big beef summer sausages, hot jalapeno peppers, packets of soy sauce, packets of sriracha sauce, salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, barbecue sauce. I mean, prison chips, prison pretzels. They're basically going to be trading this dude for all of the commissary and basically braiding his hair as they fill up the front side and the back side. And Mr. Sprinkles comes in, sprays him with all of the special nut sauce, and then splits this dude's cheeks open, and then calls all the guys from Cell Block D to see this dude's backside looking like the inside of a Louisiana crunch cake. And that's where dude will be learning the lessons of American History X, at like the shower scene that Ed Norton was in, and will be learning a hard lesson about racism as he's doing life in prison, possibly if he's convicted for these murders in this mass shooting. And that's where this young man will wind up realizing that all that misinformation he received online basically put him on a road to self-destruction, because he was so caught up in rhetoric as related to not to everything that he couldn't see the subtle politics transpiring around him. That's what happened to the Edward Norton character in American History X. He found out that many of the white supremacists were just running a hustle as related to things so that they could get goodies, giveaways, and guarantees in maintaining their business, and we're not really believing much of the rhetoric they were talking online. I mean, most of it is a grift. And again, these guys who buy into this white supremacy, again, a lot of these beta males don't know that they're just Billy pawns of everything here. But that's what happens when you're not a man who can think critically and objectively. When you can't think critically and objectively, you get caught up in this rhetoric, and you wind up getting caught up in this rhetoric and putting more important intangibles in jeopardy, such as your freedom as related to things. And that's what happened here to Phoenix Inkner. He put his freedom in jeopardy, and now he's on the road from going to be a man going to college. And thank God he is off the road to being a police officer, because he was on the road to being a race soldier who would have oppressed black people. But now he's on the road to being a man in crisis who will learn all about the whole situation of life in the penitentiary, where rules are different and life is different. And again, everything here will lead to this dude, again, going from being a guy who will regret the decisions he made to participate in this crime. He will now be going from being a guy who could have graduated college and gone to be a part of the police department to winding up with a felony record as he's sitting in the penitentiary next to Nicholas Cruz, and will now be doing life in prison right next to Nicholas Cruz, going from, again, being a free man with the ability to be free to being a man in crisis. That's what many of these young people who, again, buy into this misinformation online don't see, that there's consequences for your actions that will lead to you going from being a man on the road to having success to winding up becoming a complete failure in life, who will wind up on the road to being a man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn how to identify the behavior of a beta male and be able to help that person, invest time in that person to help them break out of that pattern of self-destruction, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos talking about the man crisis that's going on in this country, you can and help me to stay on the air. You can help me by dropping a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.